Hi there and welcome back. It's been so long since I've uploaded another video. So I was working on this project and I was learning about APIs and how we can extract you know data from APIs. And I did this project where I extracted data from Amazon and eBay and did an analysis on it using APIs. So I wanted to share my learnings with everyone. Hence, I'm making this video. So in video one, which is this video, what we'll be doing is we'll be extracting data from APIs. Under this video, we'll be learning about what APIs are. We'll be learning about some functions and commands of APIs, and I'll also be showing you how you can get yourself a free API. Of course, it will be free for a certain time period, after which you have to pay, or like you can't use it anymore. It can renew after a month, so it's a monthly basis plan. It's free for a month. You can use it for a month, and then each month it updates. And there is also a limit. It's like you can only do 300 requests or 250. I don't remember. I'll tell you in a while. That many requests you can send in a month, and then if you send 250 requests, you won't be able to you know send any further request in that month. You will have to wait for another month, or that your data to be updated on that website. Okay, so now the first question we should ask is, what is an API? API stands for application programming interface. Okay, I'll try to make you understand what this is. Let's assume that there is this database over here. Let's draw a database. Okay, this is company's database, and what is happening is company is storing all the vital informations in this database. Okay, so it's storing every information in this database. Now this database is linked with the company's website. This is the company's website, and the database, you know it's linked. Now what happens is, anyone who is able to access this website, this is the website. Anyone who is able to access this website is able to access every information which is stored in this database, which is of course not secure, right? The company does What the company does is, it has this database, then it adds another layer over here, and then the website is there. Actually, it's not a website. We don't call it a website, we call it as the clients. So it can have multiple clients: client 1, client 2, and client 3. Okay. Hmm. Now what is happening is, this interface is connected to this database, and it is restricting the gain of information for each client. So each client is now able to extract only the data which they are authorized to get, right? So let's say client 1 is a general public, and it's trying to access the database through the company's website. So whatever data which is visible on the website, which is only a fraction of the whole database, this client will only be able to see that database. If client 2 is an employee in the company, then of course next set of data, or client 2 will be able to get more data, or will have access to more data compared to client 1, or different data compared to client 1. If client 3 is the database manager, who is managing the database system, or the data which are being stored in this database, will of course have a greater access and greater control over this database compared to both client 1 and client 2. Now how this happens, you see these arrows I have drawn. These are known as endpoints. Each endpoints will give you access to different uh, amount of data, or different levels of access it will grant you of the database. This interface, which is over here, you can call it as API. Or when you learn DBMS, it's called an interface layer where everything is managed of how much data you have a certain client should get. What is happening is, this is the database. The API sits between the client and the database. The client sends request to API. The API first verifies the client, then then it extracts the data from the database and sends back the data which the client one should get. Now everything which is happening, of course, this client is connected through this API through an endpoint, and this API is sitting between client and database, helping the communication to happen. This is the basic knowledge of an API and how API works. Now let's explore some commands of the APIs. So the first command is, of course, get command. Of course, it extracts the data. Then there is post command, which updates the data. Then there is patch command, tch, which partially updates the data. And then there is this delete command, which of course deletes the data. Now these are only four commands, four examples that I have given you. There are many more commands, and throughout this analysis, throughout this data extraction video, we'll be working with only get command, because what we are trying to do is we are trying to extract the data. We are not trying to update or delete some data. We're not working on the main database. What we are doing is we are, through API, we are connecting to the database of this website, and we are extracting the data which is visible to everyone. Now this misconception can be there, or this confusion can be there, that what we are doing is through this API, what we are doing is we are trying to access the data in the database, which is not accessible to any other public. Now if you open your Amazon web page and search anything over there, you'll see that there are pictures and then the descriptions, and then there are these prices of these data of the products. What we are doing is through this API, we are trying to extract that prices and everything which is visible to everyone. We are not dealing with the main database over here. Now, when we extract the data, the raw format in which we get the data, it looks something like this. Of course, you can understand this is a JSON, data JSON structure, and many of you will know. And if you don't know, I'll just go through what a JSON is. Basically, a data block, a JSON is a key value pair. JSON language, there are key value pairs. Okay, now it starts with curly braces, ends with curly braces. Inside, it will have a key. Over here, it's data, and this key has a value pair, which is this part. Inside this, third brackets or square brackets. Now, why we are adding square brackets is we're having another set of JSON block over here, which is containing key value pairs. Only one is shown, but it can have multiple. Like after this, we can start another one. Why? Because we are using this over here. Even if we are using, if a key is connected to another JSON block, we'll have to use this, and we can also have multiple JSON block inside this. Now inside the data, we have a JSON block. Inside that JSON block, we'll have type, article, and ID and everything, and attribute over here. Now you might be asking that, oh, after attribute it starts with curly braces or second brackets, and after data, why third bracket? As I said, after attributes there are no JSON blocks. If you see, there are only key value pairs. There is no JSON block as starting like this over here. That's only a key value pair. So when only key value pairs are there, normally, like under attributes, we use second brackets. Else, if we are having multiple JSON blocks inside, which is mapped to a certain key, we use third brackets or square brackets. Now how will we be extracting data through this? What we will do is first we'll get this raw data. Now through this raw data, what we'll say is we'll say get, let's say get, and we'll have data. Then we'll pass in the URL over here. We get data, and then after data, you know, uh, let's say we are trying to extract this type. So we'll write type over here like this, and we'll get articles. If we are trying to get attributes, instead of type, we'll write attributes, and then we'll get this whole thing over here. If you want attributes, and under attributes you want description, then what we have to do is we have to write data slash first attributes, and then under attributes we have to write description like this to get up. And of course we'll have a get command in front of it. Now before we move on towards the codes, I would quickly like to show where you can get your APIs. you can use SERP API over here, and you go there, you sign up, you create a new account, then you have to go and find this Amazon search API. We are going to use these, and there was an eBay search API, this one right here. So you have to search for eBay search API and Amazon search API. You get 250 searches in total in your free version. After you complete, as you can see, I've already used up 92 searches, and I'm left with 158. After I completely use up 250 searches, I have to either pay them to renew my API, or my API will automatically get renewed at on January 12th, 2026. Now, let's get started with the codes. What I've done is I've taken screenshot of my codes and pasted it over here. So why I've done this, because both the codes are almost the same, and I'm using Jupyter Notebook. You can use the same. Okay, so let's get started. The first thing, and I'll be explaining both of them at the same time because the codes are almost the same. So the first thing, let's start with Amazon. Over here, what you do is you import requests. Okay, what request does is it helps you to use your API to request the data server. I explained how the client requests the API, sends request, and the API gives back the result. So this request is used for that. Then you use MySQL connector. This helps you to connect with your database. Your import time, it is essential. I'll tell you later more on this. From .env, you need to install .env. You need to import load.env, and then you need to import OS. What you can do is you can quickly run this command in your terminal, which is pip install requests, then MySQL connector, then .env, and OS and time are pre-installed, so you don't need to install them. You run this in your terminal as it is, and it will install all three libraries over here. Now, you might remember we created .env, file over there, and we stored our API key over there. We stored our user, password, host, port, and database over there. Now, why this is essential is you don't need everyone to know your API key. So it's better you create an env file which you can access through the codes, and then you can import your APIs via env. So we simply write load.env, and we create another variable which we will be using throughout the code. What I have done is I've created API key. Then we say os.getEnv API key. So whatever variable, the variable you might remember we created API key. So whatever value that variable will have, it will get stored in this variable over here, which is API key. Same will happen with the user and the password. Now, these two database, these are the main two database which we will be using. What you need to do is you quickly need to open your MySQL workbench, and I'll be showing you how you can do that. Okay, so you open your MySQL workbench, and then you create a database called Amazon DB, and then you create a database called eBay DB. So you simply write create database Amazon DB and create database eBay DB. So now you can come back over here, and with DB1, what you can write is Amazon DB, within quotes, of course. And with DB2, you can write eBay DB, which, and of course, I'm using Amazon DB as the database name. Whatever database name you give, you need to put that database name over here. The table which we will be using is product. So TS products. Okay, so we'll create this table as well, and then you can enter your user, port, and host over here. Port Pro DB1 and Pro DB2 will be looking at in the future. These will come at the end of our pipelining. Coming back to our codes, now by this time you already know what the API key is and where we are getting it from. Similarly, for user, password, host, port, and database 1 and database 2, we are importing DB1 and DB2, which will be Amazon DB and eBay DB. Now we initialize the keywords. This is simply a list, and it contains all the keywords which we will be iterating over and finding the products from, extracting data regarding these keywords from the website. Now we need to establish a connection. So what we do is we write db is equal to mysql.connector.connect, and within brackets we write host equals to what is your host. So that's MySQL host. Then we initialize our user, password, and database like this. Then we move forward and we say cursor equals to db.cursor. And what this does, it connects a Python or Jupyter notebook to our database. Now we can use this cursor variable over here to execute mm, SQL codes through our Python Jupyter notebook. So what we do is we create the table products. We write create table if not exist. Why if not exist is we might run this code multiple times in the future. Now, for the first time when we run it, of course, the product table doesn't exist. So it creates a new product table. But in the future, when the product table is already existing, if we don't include this if not exist and we simply write create table products, that will give an error. Why? Because products table already exists and we are trying to create another products table which the database doesn't allow. So what it does is if it doesn't exist, it creates a product. If it exists already, it doesn't give an error, but what it does, it updates the values, or you know it updates the values which we will extract from here. Now in this table what we are doing is AC90. This is basically the product ID, then the keyword of course, then the title, what the title it has, then price, rating, review count, and link. If you come over this side on the eBay side, you will realize that this is the same, this is the same, but what is different is the names of the table of the column. So over here I've written product ID, keyword, title, and then I have added item condition. Why? Because on eBay site what happened, you most of the products that you get on they're sold as second hand products, so the item condition is necessary. From price and to price is also necessary. Feedback is basically the so feedback over here, feedback is basically the rating over here. Then we have review count, and then we have link. Now we say for terms in keywords, we are starting to iterate over the keywords. What we do is you can skip this print command. What it's doing is basically printing on which keyword we are trying to fetch the data. This is important. What we say is params is equal to API key. We initialize it as API key. Now this is, if you recognize, it's a JSON file. It's a JSON code. So API key is API key, that engine is engine. Now this might look like a JSON code. I made a mistake. This might look like a JSON code, but this is actually a dictionary. What we call in Python, it is a dictionary. So API key variable is mapped to API key. Now engine is mapped to Amazon and K is mapped to terms. This is necessary. Why? Because we are going to use this to embed it into our search option and then extract the results. So I'm creating a response over here, and then I'm writing request.get. Now you might remember I had explained how to use get. Now after get, what we are doing is we are giving the URL of our website. Because we are using the free version, this is how we have to do it. What we do is we connect to the website, and then website, we are through the API we connect to the website, and then that website extracts the data from the web page and gives back the result to us. Now params equals to params data.response.json. Why? Because we are trying to embed this in JSON format. Now results, we get it from data.get. You might remember I had given you an example where there's this data, and inside that data there were multiple code blocks. So we did from that data we dot get organic result. So what this does, it will give back a JSON file. Inside that JSON file there'll be a data section, and inside the data section we'll have organic results, and under that organic results we'll have our required information that we need. Now for items in results, now we are trying to iterate over the items that we have. Of course, now how it will be written, I'll give you an example. Let's say it's written organic results, and then you say this way, and start a third bracket, and then you will have your JSON blocks over here, then you will have another JSON blocks and another JSON blocks, so on. So we are iterating through these items. Keep in mind these are working as independent items which we are iterating through. So inside organic results, the first item we get is this whole code block over here. Now inside that code blocks, what we will have is we'll have async, and then that will be mapped to the id 104a2 like this. So what we say is async dot item dot get async. Then if not, why? Because this is labeled as item, inside organic result this is labeled as item dot get asyn id. And then we'll have, if not, let's say if a product doesn't have an asyn id, so that it doesn't gives out an error, we say if not asyn, we continue on, move on. Then we say, then there might be a title over here. We say item dot get title, whatever the value it will have, we'll extract that. Similarly for raw price, now the raw price will have the rupees and dollar sign over there, and then commas over here. So what we do is we strip it down so that we get only the numeric variables. This is the code for that. And then we write a rating, we get the rating. If rating is in a, if rating is in float, we try to convert it into float. If it's not, if it's there, we simply, and if it gives a value error, we simply say that rating is equal to none. Moving on, review totals, we get it from the reviews. Now review count is equal to none if review total is not none. Let's say there is a we get a value of this review total. Then we say if it's an str, if instance review total str try, we say we convert it into int by removing the commas and stripping the commas, and then convert it into the int. Then if there is an error, we simply say none. If is instant it's already int, then we simply store it in review count. Similarly, we get the link, and then we, as before, we execute this command that insert in ignore into products. Why ignore? Because there might because the product might already exist. We might run this code again, so product might already exist. What if it already exists? We don't change it, and if a new product is added, we add those product. Then we say db.commit, so to save the changes, and time.sleep equals to 1, and then print all keywords are complete. Similarly, if we come over this side, we have done the same thing over here. You can go through the codes. See, we initialize the params, we initialize response result, and then items. Now only changes you see is in variable names. You see product id, title, item, condition, price, from price. If from price is none, let's say, because what I saw is some may not have a from price, so we don't need to extract that. Then to price feedback and so on. Now this was all regarding how you can extract data from Amazon and eBay. If you want the whole code which I've written, you can go through my GitHub account. I'll post the link of the repository in the description. So this was all for this video. Thank you.